of the Muslim religion, and it has been gaining force. We saw it most vividly in the terrorist actions that Hezbollah, Hamas, others have carried out. But I think we see it now as the result of the 18 months of what some people mistakenly saw as the Arab Spring. This was not a democracy movement. It may have been against authoritarian rulers in Libya, Tunisia, Egypt, and elsewhere, but it was not motivated by a desire to set up a Swiss system of government or Jeffersonian democracy. And I think the proof is what we're seeing in the streets all across the region right now. That's the threat we face.
And Ambassador, this is a country that we helped liberate. You know, Benghazi is a city that we defended. I mean, how could we not have known that, based upon the 4 incidents that we're hearing about now that occurred earlier, that something might happen on 9/11?
Well, it was either a massive failure of intelligence, which is one possibility, or both in Egypt and Libya and elsewhere, the State Department felt that it was operating in such a benign environment it didn't need to take adequate protection, including gathering intelligence. I'm very worried it's more likely the latter explanation, because it speaks to a worldview that's profoundly flawed. Look, I supported overthrowing Muammar Gaddafi once he threatened to return to international terrorism. But part of a strategy involving getting rid of Gaddafi is finding out who to replace him. And here, 18 months after it started, the writ of the central government does not run countrywide. There's a risk that the country will fragment and these terrorists and others will take root on the southern shore of the Mediterranean, endangering Europe and us. And this possibility is spreading throughout the region. We don't seem to understand, at least the administration doesn't, what the risks are. You know, the president likes to say Gaddafi was overturned without any American casualties. Well, tragically, we've just had 4 killed as a result of his policy. And
Ambassador, now we're hearing that there is a UN envoy who's going to talk to President Assad in Syria to see if there's something that can be done for all this turmoil in the Middle East. I mean, Assad has killed 20,000 of his own people, and does the UN really think he's going to help us with this scenario?
Well, Lakhdar Brahimi, the envoy, actually may be a little bit more realistic than the State Department, because he said his job is almost impossible. He's very close. I delete the almost. But, you know, for 18 months, the State Department and the administration operated on the assumption that we could chit-chat Russia into helping ease Assad out of power, and that failed miserably. This is the yet another example of the misperception of reality in the region.
Well, you know, Ambassador, just very quickly, yes or no, because I have to go. Should we consider the stop giving the money to Egypt and Libya that the Americans give them every year?
Yeah, I would say privately, you don't have to say it publicly, that if anything like what happened on September the 11th happens again, they can kiss our money goodbye. And I'd make the same point to governments around the region. It's just unsustainable if they can't provide protection for official Americans, and I might say also for the many American private citizens who are in the region who are just as much at risk.
Okay. All right, Ambassador Bolton, thanks so much for joining us. And coming up, a closer look at who's responsible for